It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is What Made the Cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Doug Smith brings you this portion of the program. Doug Smith, of course, the dealerships found in American Fork, Spanish Fork, and in Linden, all across the different brands that they represent, including the brand-new Mitsubishi dealership in American Fork. Nobody knows cars like Doug, and we appreciate their support of the program right here. It is hard right now, JJ, to try to figure out what's going on with this Mammoth team. As soon as they started to have some question marks, they came right back and snapped to with a couple of wins right in a row, and you thought, okay, let's see what they can do from here.
Thought they were back.
Now 4 losses in a row that feel even more disappointing, I think, than even the previous run of a couple of losses in a row, because you have now this thought of, okay, what are you going to do with this team? You have some guys going down to Tucson to play for the Roadrunners. You've got Daniil, who we talked about getting called up, and now, of course, today the Mammoth announcing that Maveric Lamoureux is going to be recalled from the Roadrunners as well down in Tucson. Joining us on the program right now, he's the radio play-by-play voice of the Utah Mammoth, Mike Folta. Mike, what's going on, man? How are things with you?
Hey, what's up, guys? We're here in beautiful SoCal. Got my Disney ears on. We're right next to Disneyland, and we're gonna quit the roller coasters and the overpriced food for some hockey here in a little bit. Got a late one tonight, but should be fun.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it, because every game I think there's that little glimmer of hope of, okay, this team's got to turn some things around. They are getting to the point now. What do you think the biggest kind of head-scratching moments for you have been? Is obviously you call every second of these games and you watch this thing go on. That we just heard on the way in too, the highlights or lowlights or whatever you want to say from that Sharks game the other night when they put that 6th goal in. There were a lot of people who threw the towel in on that game that night. They went, okay, I can't watch this anymore. And it's been a difficult go here. What do you think the biggest head-scratching thing for you is with this team right now?
Yeah, it's tough to just pinpoint one thing. And when you give up 6 goals, there's usually multiple things wrong, right? I mean, we saw in that game specifically, some uncharacteristic turnovers. You had maybe at least one goal that you'd like your goalie to stop, and then you trade goalies, and doesn't have much of an effect in the goal-stopping department. But I think there's a few things at play. One, the power play needs to get going. The Mammoths have the worst power play in the league, and you look at this team last year, and the power play was 10th best, and right now we're nowhere near that. And so the power play, you hope to go like around 20 to 25% on the power play. If you're at 25%, that's really good. But that's scoring once every 4 or 5 power play opportunities, right? And so that is almost a goal a game when it comes down to it, and that's what Utah is missing right now, is that extra goal to just give yourself a chance in the fight. And along with that, there's been some inconsistency in the defensive zone with the turnovers, like I mentioned against San Jose. For the most part, this group has been pretty good defensively. It was just that game against San Jose that was an exception to the rule, and it's hard to outscore 6 goals worth of mistakes. So a couple things working against the Mammoth right now. You've seen some of the top guys go a little bit quiet. Clayton Keller, obviously, playing with a heavy heart. Him and Nick Schmaltz have both seen their points dip a little bit here. And so those guys need to get going. But the depth scoring, really the whole offense needs to lurch into gear a little bit. And you add all that together, and it brings you to the worst calendar month that we've seen from this group, which is what we had back in November.
Yeah, it's been tough and discouraging because we know what this team is capable of. What do you think the key is to unlocking that power play?
Yeah, well, we're going to find out, because we've seen some new personnel on the power play at morning skates. We've got J.J. Peterka on the top unit with Clayton Keller, and they're moving Dylan Guenther out of his one-timer spot. He usually sets up where you see Alexander Ovechkin on the left faceoff circle waiting for a one-timer. But teams have started to adjust to Guenther, and they've kind of started cheating towards him a little bit. I was talking with Dylan the other day in the room, and he was saying, a lot of teams have actually switched up their coverage, where they used to run one thing and now they're running another thing against us. And I think that's kind of made this group think a little bit more on the power play. And you watch a really good NHL power play, and they're snapping it around, boom, boom, boom. There's not a lot of thinking going on. It's just instinct, and you know where everybody is. The Mammoths don't have that right now, and I think some more movement will help with guys trading places, shifting into different zones, and hopefully creating some alleys against a penalty kill here for Anaheim that is not too threatening. They're bottom 6 in the league in PK.
Mike, yeah, we love having the exciting, fun conversations with you, where we're like happy-go-lucky with these things, and it just has been kind of a weird vibe inside the organization.
Yeah.
Where has everybody been? Like, I would imagine that being on edge is probably the least of what they're worrying about here. They're trying to make some moves here and trying to figure some things out. These younger guys that they're bringing in, Daniil and Maveric Lamoureux, these are names that at some point we expected to see with names on the back of Mammoth jerseys. Is it just to get what's the purpose of bringing these younger guys in? Is it to fire up some of these other guys inside the locker room? Is it just to shift some things around? Is it a version of both? And what do you see these guys doing impact-wise with this team as they get called up?
Yeah, well, there's three sides of every story, right? There's your side, my side, then there's the truth. I think the truth probably has a smattering of both of what you just said, where, hey, the group that's going right now isn't necessarily getting it done. It's time for an injection of life. But I think you can't ignore the other side of it either, which is the guys who have been called up have earned this. It wasn't just given to them, and that's what Bear was trying to get across to me earlier this morning. He was saying, look, Daniil leads the team in the AHL. He led the team in scoring through the first 19 games. He's one of the top rookies in the American Hockey League. And again, he's coming over from Russia, where he was already playing professional hockey against men. So this is not some guy who's like just figuring out how to play against athletes in their prime and who needs some more time to learn that. He was already doing that as a teenager in one of the best leagues in the world. And then he came over to North America, where you worry, okay, in the AHL, the rink is smaller, you have less time to make decisions. Is he going to be able to keep up with the speed of the game and process the game at a high level? And that answer was a resounding yes from what we've seen so far in Tucson. So Boot has earned the call-up, and that's the chief reason why he is with the club right now. But at the same time, like, and now we're getting into hypotheticals, like if this team had won 7 in a row, would they have called him up? I'm not sure. Can't answer that. But it hasn't been good recently. Ever since that 7-game win streak, and Boot could be the spark that this group needs, especially up front, because he's going to shoot the puck, and he's got a ton of skill.
Yeah, they can definitely use a spark. The last month's been pretty rough, but if you look at the standings right now, Mike, it doesn't look as bad as it feels right now, because you're 1 game out of the wild card. You have the same points as Edmonton. You have a point more than the Jets. So there's a lot. I mean, what's the feeling inside the organization right now about this rough patch and where they're at right now? Is there optimism that they can get this turned around? And if so, I mean, there's really no reason to push the panic button, right?
No, I wouldn't use the word. I wouldn't use the word panic, but I'd be lying if I said that it's been super comfortable, walking into the room the last couple of days on this road trip where Utah is yet to get a win through the first 3 games of the trip. This group has expectations to make the playoffs and not just be in the mix, but to be a better team. And I think what we have to be careful of, and what the team has to be careful of, is after that great start in October, not to recalibrate expectations to fit that win streak. Because the truth is, this team is not that 7-game win streak, and this team is also not what we saw in November. It's probably somewhere in the middle, and the Mammoths have to figure that out. And the sooner they can figure that out, the more points they'll have, and the better off that they'll be. I think the vibe today, just walking into the locker room today in Anaheim, there was an excitement there, and I think a big part of that was because of the 2 new guys, Boot and Lamoureux, who by the way, could probably, like, I would like to see them take on is it A.J. DeBonza from BYU? Like, let them guard the ball up top because Lamoureux and Boot are both like a legit 6'6".
Oh yeah.
But like put some length on that guy and maybe make him go to his left instead of his right and get a nice contest up there because those guys can hang in the front court.
6'6", 6'9" with the skates, so it's like Fletch, 6'9", 6'10" with the afro. Yeah, it's. I would love to see what these guys could do. We talked so much in the offseason and kind of in the preseason when these guys' names came up. When you're like, man, there's some young, exciting dudes who are there, and then you look and you go, okay, well, what's the reason for the call up? And it has a bunch of different reasons, like you were saying, Mike, on top of the fact that these guys, you don't fake your way in. They don't just put guys on a roster and send other guys down and go, we're just trying some stuff out here. They believe that these guys are a little bit ahead of schedule, or they could make that spark. And just what you've described too, when a couple of new guys are in the locker room and there's some energy there, maybe that's the type of an energy shift that a locker room does need.
Yeah, and I think what is going to decide it is not anything that's intangible. I think it'll be tangible results that kind of dictate that. But we heard from Bill Armstrong back in the offseason when these guys were coming into camp. They were signed in May, and I'm saying these guys. I mean Daniil Boot and Dmitry Simashev, who we didn't know much about other than their draft profile and what Bill was telling us. And Bill told us about both of those guys. He thinks they have a really good shot to make the team out of camp. Now, Simashev did, Boot didn't, but this is not like a call-up that has necessarily come out of nowhere. This was a guy who entered camp, and like there was a possibility that he made the roster on a Mammoth team that already added a bunch of other pieces and had a very competitive training camp. So it's not something that necessarily came out of the blue. It was going to happen at some point, right? The guy was picked 12th overall. Like he's going to see the NHL, and because of his skill, but because you want to see what your draft picks can do. But he had a really good stint in the KHL as a very young player. Has played extremely well in Tucson, and now has a chance to play with two of Utah's best players in Logan Cooley and Dylan Guenther. So everything is setting up for him to have an exciting debut tonight at the Duck Pond.
The Ducks, another challenge tonight. This is a Ducks team that has emerged as one of the biggest surprises of the league so far, although if people were watching and knowing the prospects they had, they're probably not too surprised. But I remember that game that you called part of this rough patch was losing that game at the end in overtime, and had a lead with 20 seconds and couldn't hold it. There's some bad memories and some bad juju there. How important is it for this team, and how much are they thinking about that last trip to Anaheim, and how bad do they want to get revenge tonight?
Yeah, I think that plays in a part of it. It's funny, like this Anaheim team has actually done that to a few teams throughout this year. They've won a game in the last 5 minutes of regulation 3 times. They've tied the game late several times, and you mentioned it. Like anybody who's following their prospects knew, okay, the Ducks are coming, but now the Ducks are here and they're leading the Pacific Division, and anybody who tells you otherwise is lying. Nobody thought that the Anaheim Ducks would be ahead of Edmonton, Vegas, and LA here as we open up December. I credit a lot of this turnaround to Joel Quenneville, former Blackhawks head coach, won those 3 Stanley Cups in Chicago. One thing you'll notice about this Ducks team is they do not give up leads late very often. They've only had 2 games this year where they've blown a lead and lost the game. So when they get ahead, they typically stay ahead. And for me, that's a sign of a pretty mature team and a sign that a young organization is turning the corner.
You look at some of the biggest young stars in the game, and people think of Connor Bedard. We just saw Macklin Celebrini again, and he's certainly one of those guys. But where does Leo Carlsson rank in that group? He's having a phenomenal season at just 20 years of age.
Yeah, he's up there. I wouldn't put him quite at the Celebrini level per se, but you go through the Ducks game notes, and he's in a lot of sentences that also contain names like Crosby or Teemu Solani or Paul Correa or legends of the game or other legends of the Anaheim organization. And so he's on a great path already. He was impressive last year for the Ducks as well. Just 21 years of age, second overall back in 2023. He was that pick right behind Connor Bedard, and he's been wildly impressive. And it's not just him either. There's others. Cutter Gauthier has 15 goals as well. He's another 21-year-old that plays with Carlson, and those guys have a great chemistry and are going to be fun to watch for Ducks fans in the future. But it's guys like those, and it's also guys they brought in free agency and via trade the last offseason and the last year. Chris Kreider, a name fans might know from his days in New York. He was a longtime New York Ranger. He's been impactful. Jacob Trouba, another former Ranger, is having a good year as a defenseman on the back end. But lots to be happy about in Duckland because it's promising. The future's bright, and the present is profitable as well.
Mike Folta is the radio play-by-play voice of the Utah Mammoth, joining us on the program here. And Mike, have fun down there, and we're going to keep our eyes peeled on this one to see how it goes. Got the national TV stint tonight, going to be on TNT on a big network, and Utah going to Anaheim, and it's an 8 o'clock puck drop. You can hear it, of course, the 7 o'clock pregame. And then, of course, Mike's dulcet tones coming up at the 8 o'clock hour when that puck drops. Mike, have fun down there. We're looking forward to what this new team tonight looks like with a couple new guys on it.
Can't wait. If we win, I'll send some crumble cookies your way, guys. Appreciate it.
There you go. Mike Folta. This is like one of my favorite guys that we ever have on. I love having Mike on, dude.